My Gavan and Melonin, and well met indeed. I'm Arik here, Galadurthan, head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to the same as we continue on as Enedwaith, here in our vast expansion campaign. In the last episode, of course, we have gone to war with Rohan, which I'm pleased with, to be honest. I know Rohan are a very powerful nation, and it could give us some grief, but it is good to fight against factions we rarely fight against, and Rohan is one such faction. They are very, very represented on this channel. I've never played as Rohan, and I rarely ever fight against them, so this is actually a perfect opportunity to do so. As someone has suggested, though, we should look to break our alliance with Isengard before Isengard dies, because I haven't yet implemented the script which neutralizes dead factions in terms of their diplomatic relations. So we should try and break our alliance with Isengard just before they're killed off, so that if we want to in the future, we can still ally with Rohan. It's always good to have the option, whereas if we stay allied to Isengard as they go down, we'll never have that option with Rohan ever again. So we will send a diplomat over and just let Isengard know in due course that we are going to break our alliance with them. But before we dive into Enedwaith proper, some of you may be disappointed, but I'm going to just talk about the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. And I'm afraid there won't really be anything visual to watch behind the screen, but we have had the following paragraph apparently leaked. It sounds remarkably to me like it was leaked in inverted commas, if you know what I mean. Basically, someone in Amazon, they took the decision to leak this to generate hype. And it reads as follows. Amazon Studios' forthcoming series brings to screens for the very first time the heroic legends of the fabled Second Age of Middle-earth's history. We already knew that. This epic drama is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and will take viewers back to an era in which great powers were forged, kingdoms rose to glory and fell to ruin, unlikely heroes were tested, and hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flowed from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness. Beginning in a time of relative peace, the series follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, as they confront the long-feared re-emergence of evil to Middle-earth. From the darkest depths of the Misty Mountains to the majestic forests of the elf capital of Lindon, to the breathtaking island kingdom of Numenor, to the furthest reaches of the map, these kingdoms and characters will carve out legacies that live on long after they are gone. This pretty much cements in any slightly deeper fan of Lord of the Rings that the show is going to be set at the time of the creation of the rings. Starting in a time of relative peace, which would line up perfectly with the start of the forging of the rings. Of course, as we all know, when the rings were forged, Sauron took on the guise of Anatar, the Lord of Gifts, and he came to the elves as a benevolent guide, essentially an all-knowing being who came to help them achieve greatness. And at that time, Middle-earth was in almost utter peace. Of course, Numenor still existed and was in its peak. They hadn't turned even remotely evil yet. Gondor and Arnor didn't exist yet, and whilst Mordor, of course, there are rumblings of Mordor, most of the world lived in peace and harmony. And then, once the elves learn that they are deceived, they hide the rings from Sauron, and he conquers the known world to get them back. His armies march all the way up to the Gulf of Lune itself, where he is only then beaten back by the coming Númenóreans, which is all, of course, spoiler alert, because it seems like this is what the show is going to cover. And then, of course, that is really one of the major factors. It's not the beginning factor, but it's one of the major factors why Sauron then comes to really decide that the Númenóreans must be put down. Because that is the greatest extent of evil conquest in Middle-earth's history in the Second Age. Sauron never attains that level again, and of course the Last Alliance eventually puts him down, but that's long after they've beaten him all the way back. He is utterly annihilated by the Númenóreans and the elves. So that all lines up quite nicely, and I think it was always hugely likely that we were going to get Sauron in his fair form. We were not going to just focus on the Last Alliance, which is obviously by the end of the Second Age is when Sauron is then forced to take on a form of evil and anger and anguish. He's essentially cursed by Eru Ilúvatar and the Valar to remain in a single form. But before that, of course, he always appears as a nice guy. So they're going to get someone devilishly handsome to play him. He's going to be a bit of this might be a controversial thing to say, I suppose, but at that point, he's kind of like a Ted Bundy-esque figure in that people are going to look at him and almost instantly trust him because he's going to be the most gorgeous being you have ever seen in your life. And then it's only as you start to get to know him you realise that actually he's also quite possibly the most evil being that you'll ever meet in your life. And I think that's what they're going to go for. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to play him. But anyway, so we're pretty much set now that we know the story is going to be based around the creation of the rings and the war of the elves and Sauron, which is what this ensuing war is called. The only point about the little release that I don't like, and this is just the pedantic nerd in me speaking, of course, and some of you may have already picked it up, is that they refer to Lindon as the elf capital. And that would be like referring to England as the English capital. It just doesn't make sense. Lindon is a nation or a geographical region, or in fact it's both of those things. This is the Kingdom of Lindon, and its chief and greatest haven is of course Mithlond, which is arguably the actual capital, if it were to have one. And I always just think little things like that just are rather telling that the people that are creating these shows, they're not massive Lord of the Rings fans, and they're twisting and changing the material to suit their needs. And it's something minor, but we saw it with the Lord of the Rings as well, where people would often refer to Gondor as the capital of the Gondorians, or the worst one, the most egregious one I used to see was the country of Minas Tirith. And you think, Minas Tirith isn't a country, it's a city. How do they get such minor things wrong? But anyway, that's by the by. That's an absolutely minor point, and I suppose you could argue a region is a capital, but it isn't, of course. So that's all we have for the Amazon series, but it's good to note that a young Aragorn's story is not going to be told, but we knew that already because it's set in the Second Age, and of course Aragorn is not immortal. So we knew that Aragorn was out a long time ago, but there was a lot of speculation that he was going to be the core feature of the series. And it seems almost certain now that it's going to be based around the war of the elves and Sauron and the creation of the Rings of Power. If you have any comments or thoughts on the series, do post them down in the comment section below. But otherwise, let's crack on with Enedwaith. We have attacked Rohan, as I've already mentioned, and our army besieges Caras, which is one of the regions we need for Enedwaith unification. We've bolstered our borders against Dunland and put as many free garrison troops on the edges as we can get. We have generals rocking around and building towers, which we discussed last time. But otherwise, that's it. Ah, dear, sorry. I've barely spoken today. My voice is not enjoying having to suddenly speak non-stop. But I believe we're at an end turn.
Yes, my lord.
So let us do that. Oh, there is Isengard. Look, right there. Isengard only hold, at best, 3 provinces, and at worst, only 2. They've got Gund, which is just south down here, Parthior, and they've also got Balorn, is it called? Yes, Balorn, and Ruaithior. But then far to the south, they might have Tharagrondos, which is just there. But we don't know that. I'm loath to declare full break of the alliance with Isengard until we're certain that they're definitely going to die. Let's go and see what's happening in Gund. Because if we attack Rohan and then just take all of these lands, Isengard might not have to break the alliance. They might just sit over here in the west of the world and stay there forever and a day. So I'm not going to rush into breaking that alliance, but it's something we need to keep in the forefront of our minds. Financially, we're doing all right, about 1,000 gold coins, which should be fine. And that's about it, really. So let's end the turn and see how we get on. Oh, Captain Eamod has attacked Eodan. But we're besieging Caras, Captain Eamod. Why would you do that? Oh, and you have a massive army. Let's just try and withdraw. Sorry, Eodan. I think Eodan is the coming of age. Not coming of age, is the general we got Man of the Hour. I think he's that. He's in Londangran now. And look at what... Rohan, why are you doing that? I'm besieging this nearest city to you. Come and relieve the siege. Oh, dear. We've spoken about Amazon, and now we can just talk generally as the episode ensues. And my thoughts on this specific, on the information that we've received and the time period, is that I think that's fantastic. I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to see the downfall of Numenor. I was really rather hoping that that would be the time period, with Sauron's capture by Ar-Pharazôn, and then, of course, the subsequent destruction and annihilation of the island. I was really rather hoping for that. But what we're going to see instead is Numenor in its glory, at a point when there is no doubt about their evil. There's no questions haven't begun seeping into their mind yet. They're still firmly in the on the side of the elves and the Valar. Although there's rumblings about why can't they go west, but little more than rumblings. There's nowhere near the level of treachery, I suppose is the word I would use, that comes later in the Second Age at the end. But one thing we definitely are going to see, and I hope that I pray beyond anything that they manage to pull it off, is a fantastic coming reinforcements arrive scene. I think that is definitely on the cards, because when Sauron conquers the known world to try and get the rings, as I say, he conquers all of Eriador. This entire place falls sway to him, and the elves are beaten right back to Mithlond itself. And then the Númenóreans arrive, unlooked for, although the elves did ask for help. The Númenóreans then arrive, and the combined might of their armies smashes him, and they are destroyed. Sauron is destroyed, and so we have the possibility of an even greater reinforcement scene than the coming of the Rohirrim at the Pelennor Fields, which would be a difficult one to surpass in greatness, because that scene is quite possibly the best scene that has been put to cinema in cinema's history, to my way of thinking. But there is the possibility of a fantastic reinforcement scene, so that I'm all for, definitely down with. It's Captain Blar who has attacked us. He's got some Dunlanding raiders, Danish hunters, Dunlanding horsemen, and 2 unknowns. We've got a castle with 2 good defensive units and Fowlan warriors, but we don't have a militia garrison, so we're not going to get any free troops. I'm surprised Dunland have attacked me. And you'll note Isengard actually stayed true to me, so I would feel quite guilty in abandoning them now. But Dunland has obviously found that we are a greater threat. But aren't Dunland at war with Rohan? Yes, they are. Me, Bree, the Dunedain, Rohan, and their only allies are the Goblins of Moria. And the Goblins aren't going to do anything. So that's really quite bizarre. They're essentially third-partying me, but they should really just be focusing on hitting Rohan. They should use the fact that I'm hitting Rohan to get their own gains in Rohan's territory. I mean, each to their own. I think we should probably attack Karas to get the army freed up quicker rather than later. Sooner rather than later, because Eamod needs to be dealt with. A Rohirrim general called Wolf. What a switcheroo. They got 2 Westron defenders, but we've got so many archers, it just does not matter. So we're going in. Battle is joined. I am very excited to see who they will get to play Sauron. Sauron is not as one-dimensional of an evil person as the Lord of the Rings would have you believe. In the Lord of the Rings, he's fully held up as just the epitome of evil. There is no other facet to his being. He's pure evil, and he wants to control the world, and he'll kill anyone that gets in his way. There's nothing else about him. There's no nuance, there's no... His character is just so straightforward in his goals and his desires and his aims. And whilst he is a cool villain, and it does inspire fear, I would have thought, he's a well-done villain, he's still just a generic, I'm evil and you're all going to die because I'm evil villain. Like, he doesn't really have a reason to want to control everything other than just evil people want to control things. And that I've never been all that keen on, to be honest. But the Second Age Sauron is so much cooler, because whilst he still just wants to control everything, he does it by more than just, here's a massive army of orcs, go win everything. He's so much better than that. The story of him rising through Ar-Pharazôn's court would be so cool to put to screen. And that, I really think, will be fantastic. Now, we don't actually need you to use your ram. Although, we might as well have a second ram, but we don't want to use the Mohaini for that. You go over there. You go over there. And that'll do. Oh, I'm pressing E instead of W. Right, and archers stand nice and wide. This is an orc town, so there are no towers, so we have total freedom to just barrage the hell out of our enemy. I don't think they even have any archers, do they? Farmhand pikes, Rohan bodyguards, Westron defenders, sellswords. No, they do not have any archers. Right, and then you guys can move forward as well. So, while Sauron still remains just pure evil, no one's forced him to be evil. He sided with Morgoth long ago, and now he's decided that everyone should fall to him because he's the ultimate ruler of the world. And he's not the greatest of evil villains, but then the story was written years and years and years and years ago, and people weren't worried about making their villains really complex and convoluted. And Sauron is a product of that. He's not at all a fancy villain. He's not like, for example, the best villain I've seen in cinema for a long time to my simple mind, is the Spider-Man movie with Michael Keaton as the sort of Hawk figure. You actually feel, you kind of feel for him, like you're on his side. And so there's layers to his character. Sauron just doesn't really have those layers. He just hates everyone and he wants to control everything. That's about it. The chief reason why he hates the Númenóreans mostly is because they beat him a couple of times. There's nothing great to do. It's not like they killed his mum or anything. Like he's just evil because the story needs someone to be evil. But at least in the Second Age, he does it in far more clever and tricky ways, and it's interesting to watch the ways that he does it. So that's why I think it's a good time frame, and I'm really interested to see who they get to play him. Because Anatar is supposed to essentially be... He's meant to be a little off-putting, but equally just captivating. You're meant to look at him and think that he's perhaps the most handsome being you've ever seen in your life, but he's also supposed to sort of put you on edge a bit. And that's the very reason why Elrond and Gil-galad don't trust him. Because there's something about him that they can't put their finger on, but that they know is off, for want of a better word. So he never actually gets access to Lindon, and this is a chief part of the reason why he eventually has to try and besiege the entire kingdom. So not everyone falls to his wiles, so he needs to have an edge. He can't be as pure, for example, as Orlando Bloom's Legolas, where there's no darkness to his character at all. There's no hints of evil. He needs to have that smooth, buttery, evil kind of effect, which can be tricky to pull off, so it'll be interesting to see who they get to play him. I told these people to move, and they've just sort of not done that, really. So stop what you're doing. Everybody just cease fire. Stand still for a second, please. And move into the positions that I actually want you to move into. And then, if you could all please throw your javelins at those Rohan bodyguards.
Our men have done well.
Oh, the axe. They have a terrible range. What's your range? 50 meters, place 70. Oh, yeah. Ah, look, the enemy army's all buggering off now. I'm not actually bothered about that wall getting broken down, so just stop what you're doing there. We're not going to charge in until every single arrow has been spent. 37% of the enemy has died. We have lost a few of our own to friendly fire, I expect. But as soon as we get anywhere near that wall, the enemy is going to come at us. We need to get the javelins used up as well.
Only half the enemy force remains. We've captured the enemy's walls.
Oh, they sort of can. Right, we're up against pikes, so send in the Saarline Mercs as an actual unit. I think that'll probably be the only one that we need. Oh, Spearmen wouldn't be too bad a shout. You go with them as well. And then, right, Javelin and ranged forces. Come and get ready. You're all gonna... Well, just move in, I suppose. And archers. Archers, 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 archers. You should have freedom to shoot at them from over here. Get the Tauta out of the way. In comes our infantry. Right, so Saarline Mercs, take that left-hand side. Leodan Spearmen, take that right-hand side. Stay in defensive. And then Javelins, come and get as close as you can and throw what you can, do what you can, attack who you can. In we go, in we go, in we go. Now you're in position, stop and throw your javelins at people, please. Oh, come off it! And he's just gone on that. We're going to lose the general, aren't we?
Victory will be ours.
Come on, throw your javelins at the bodyguard. He's hit us on the left. Not getting any kills. Oh, well done, well done. There we are. You can stop trying to kill our own. Oh, he died. No, Erinestian's gone down. Alright, so we lost the Leodan Spearman general. That's disappointing. Oh, well. Probably to friendly fire, I should expect. Why does the general stand on the left-hand side? Why can't the general stand at the back, in the middle at the back? That's a much better place. Right, you finished with your javelins, so run away. You finished, run away. The Saarline Mercs are going to get massacred by the Cell Swords. No surprises there. Stay quiet. Move into positions.
The battle is very much in our favour. Victory will be ours.
Right, hit them. Hit them now while you've got the chance. We've lost our mercs, but they're only Saarline Mercs. We're not bothered about them. Trained mercenaries. Oh, well done, Makani. Ambastoi. Ambastoi. In we go. kill off of those. And have you beaten those there? Oh, come on, there's like... It's 2 of them and you're spearmen. How tricky is it? The cell swords have gone down though. That's them dealt with. There is a unit waiting for us. Westron defenders. Send in the backstory. How are they taking so long to kill this cavalry unit? You are spearmen and they are cavalry. Finish them. End their lives. Just jab them with your bloody spears. That's the whole point of them.
Men have taken control of the city.
Goodness gracious. Wolf is not dying easily, is he? And this fellow standing with him. They're not killing really very many of us. But, I mean, they're getting the odd one every now and then. Oh well. We're going to win through the boring town capture by the looks of it, I'm afraid. Nothing I can do about that. Nothing we can do about that. Down they go.
The battle is very much in our favour. Victory will be ours.
Oh, one of them fell. And now Wolf stands alone.
Good tidings.
And down he goes as well. Jesus Christ. How many did we kill of our own? We lost 18 Machaini Tauta, and all of them were killed by us. What about the Leodan Spearmen? 6 were killed by us. What are the chances that one of those 6 was the general? Probably quite high, to be honest. I'm not overly fussed. Our actual stock bodyguard is, in my opinion, better than many of our bodyguard options, particularly Leodan Spearmen. I think Spearmen generals tend to suffer in that Spearmen are defensive infantry. You want to have them on the front lines. You want them to be holding position. And you don't want your general in your front line holding position, so you often don't use them when you have Spearmen bodyguards. This has not been held by us for a long time. It's already been made up into a town. I think we should just exterminate. Because I doubt it's very middleman. Oh, 29%, that's not bad. We only lose taxes when it gets exterminated, so it's not the end of the world. You could be retrained. We can train quite a few units here, actually. Why do we get the Druidine Hunters? We've taken the seat of the Keefi. Oh, they give us the Druidine Hunters. This clan seat is the ancestral home of the Keefi clan, one of the elder clans of Enedwaith. They are simple hunters who make their living among the plains and forests, leading a semi-nomadic lifestyle across all of Enedwaith. Although it is said their clan seat once lay to the north, it now lies on the lonely plains of Caras, bordering the lands of the Druidine. Despite their simplicity, they are among the eldest clans and have persevered through many times of strife and war. Some among them claim they can trace their lineage to days before the logging of the Great Forest by Numenor, and there may be some truth in this, as Keefi can translate to nobility. And their clan insignia, a proud deer, speaks of times when the clans were more powerful and dignified. Legends speak the clan moved south in a great exodus after the destruction of the forest and found sanctuary among the Druidine. Perhaps it is this friendship that transformed them into skilled archers who can stalk through the forest unseen. Once secured, this clan seat can muster the Keefi. Oh, we get a clan muster ground here because we've already got the town hall that we need, and we get loads from it. Woohoo, including Dove Sheath. And this is a good spot, actually. Well, Bregnas obviously is better, but yeah, we'll try and get that in. Although it costs 4,000 gold coins. Jeebus. And do we have a... And that's with a carpenter's out. Oh, we did make it expensive. That has no use for us. That is Rohan's guild. That has no use for us. Rock Hut does. That does... I think that's everything. Oh, and chicken farming. Yeah, that's all right, actually. So the walls are being repaired. We can recruit quite a bit. Where do the Keefi huntsmen themselves actually come from? The lower tier units. They come from... We'll get them in a second. Oh, we're getting them directly from the seat. I don't know what actually trains them. They get Keefi huntsmen, so we shall see. Mordag, Dragon Boat, Foul and Border Guards. Keefi huntsmen. Oh, they come from the inn. Yeah, that makes sense. Hunters would sell their supplies. Well, I mean, they would ideally come from a hunter building, but Enedwaith don't have one. Ernestian died, so the Leodan, the Leodan sent to create better relations between Enedwaith's main clans and the Leodan, the fractious other clan. Those are going to take a bit of a dive because we've killed off the man they sent to act on their behalf. We don't want to actually build anything else anywhere because ideally, if we can, we'll get... No, why would we want that in Caras, actually? This is not going to be a frontline region. Although it probably is, actually, because Bregnas has never been held by us and has only 14 middlemen culture. Yeah, so do try and build that, actually, if possible. We could just about afford it. We'll see. Have we got anyone else to move anywhere?
Yes.
Oh, you can build me a watchtower. We'll build that.
There is no glory in hiding like this.
There is no glory in hiding like this, my
Tower will
lord.
keep vigil over the lands.
This tower will keep vigil over the lands. Build us a tower on the slopes of the mountains themselves.
This tower will keep
And then head north if you would, so that we can see, make sure that the elves don't get any ideas. Those pointy-eared fools are not beyond attacking us. And whilst I call them fools despite securing an alliance with them, never expect peace, always expect war. Speaking of war, we're not going to be leaving you all behind. We're going to be marching off into battle. We could leave a Tauta unit behind. I merged already, didn't I? Yeah, so if we leave that one behind,
Yes.
and then you can take that one with you. I think we should probably press over and hit Aemod, because we can't see too many forces coming in from that side. So let's try and hunt Aemod out of the map, and then we can pick up these units as well and get a second general
My lord.
to run around with. Oh, Melmodoc's already got himself and Donchaith, so we don't really need it. But there we are. I am very interested to hear your thoughts on the Amazon series down below. Are you keen to learn of the story of the Forging of the Rings? Or had you rather hoped it would be set in a different time period of the Second Age? Of course, the chief time periods of the Second Age, to be completely true, there are only really 3 main stories that are ever developed in the Second Age, to my mind. The first is of the Ship King. He's called Aldarion and his wife Arendis. They actually have a story in Unfinished Tales. So you could base a time frame around Numenor's essentially rise to being a naval powerhouse and setting up colonies all in Middle-earth. It wouldn't have a great genre-defining enemy or anything like that. And it would just be following essentially oppressors as they begin colonizing a world. That's one area they could have gone. The only 2 other options, realistically, are the general time period around the Last Alliance. So from the founding of Gondor and Arnor through to the end of the story. Well, no, I suppose there would be 4 then, wouldn't there? Yeah, so you've got the Last Alliance period, so from Gondor and Arnor right through to the end. You've got the downfall of Numenor, with Ar-Pharazôn and Sauron's coming to Numenor. And you've got the time of the War of the Elves and Sauron and the creation of the rings, which go hand in hand. And then lastly, you've got Aldarion and Arendis. The Druidine march in aid. Cadas is reclaimed. Although it only recently fell to outlaws, the Keefi are pleased to be able to return to their home. A strange clan. It is said that they were nobles before the sack of Athamor, upon which they fled to their kin with the Druidan forest. And this changed them. From nobles they became hunters, stalking through the forest, although the leadership of their clan remains hereditary. Although their chieftain has never served as the speaker of the moot, their voice bears the most influence on account of their nobility. It was them who were responsible for convincing the other clans to agree to our mission of reclamation, albeit only when their own home fell. However, no further Keefi aside from their hunters will aid us. They claim they have other responsibilities more important than mere combat. Nevertheless, they have agreed to convince their kin in the Druidan forest to aid us. The Druidine are a fearsome force, wielding poisoned arrows and are adept at stealth. This is a boon we should be most grateful for, as they rarely lend their aid to other men. Even now, a small contingent marches to aid us, led by their famed chieftain, Gan Burigan. Oh, that's cool. I don't think Gan Burigan has a unique...
Yes, my lord.
Oh, he does. Oh, well done, Lynx. He looks suitably bedraggled. Alkford built a moot hall, which is good, because what we want from Alkford now is ideally the clan barracks. Oh, it's much cheaper with the highest tier of the cost reduction building. I can't think of its name. Carpenter's Guildhouse. I knew it would come to me. Ideally, actually, we want Herat to be somewhere that trains, because castles are better. Castles are always better. But we don't have the money for it at the moment. I'd be tempted to try and make Alkford economic rather than military. Let's get a leatherworker in for now. No. Foolish. Let's get a market. Communal farming, leatherworker, then chuck one of them on at the end and see how we'd go. Bregos built a stone circle, and then it's going to get a farm, so we get free upkeep. Buzzradun built a master carpenter's hut, and is nowhere near middlemen enough to worry about free upkeep yet. Oh, speaking of that, actually, is Bragost? Oh yeah, more than enough. So Buzzradun, we don't need to worry too much about the garrison for now. We won't be able to train it for a long time. But if you can try and get your mines built, and I'd like the roads, and I would like the wealth. You are going to purely be wealth. You are the furthest thing from at risk I think that our nation could possibly have.
This tower
Unless the elves. Did you all see that the high elf leader just died? I wonder how. It's interesting.
Yes, my lord.
Right, they did pull away. We've got room for 5 more units, but we will keep the 2 free garrison ones. So send all of that lot out.
Yes, my lord.
Send him on his merry way, and then join back up. And then we'll march on Bregnas.
Your order.
Garn Burigan has come, and he brings his Druidine Hunters. Do we get Druidine Hunters from our barracks? Let's have a look. I don't think we do. And what of the second tier? Is there a second tier? There isn't a second tier. Of course, we can't get the second tier till we unify it. But no, we don't. So the Druidine Hunters are few and far between. We get them, at the moment we get them in Alkford because we've got the guild house here. The Master Hunters Guild, which gives us the Druidine. But we won't get them in our normal clan moot muster. No, indeed. So they only come from 2 places. Wherever you can get the second tier of the guild and Karas, then that's it. So, and they are, of course, far and away our best archers. So Keefi Huntsmen make up the bulk of our archers until we unify. Then you get a really elite archer unit. Their missiles only 3, but the Druidine have a 4, but they also have poison arrows. The Druidine's range 150, and they're very high on the accuracy, whereas the Keefi's 170, but only average accuracy. So the Druidine have shorter range, but more missiles with more accuracy. Which is an interesting little trade-off. And I agree with, because the Druidine are supposed to be small of stature, and like dwarves, they're not going to be wielding a 6-foot longbow. They're not going to be shooting. They're not going to be firing arrows far into the distance. Now, what we unfortunately have to come to terms with is that it seems that Dunland are not going to actually attack us. They're going to just simply siege us, and something's going to have to be done on that northern bound, which is why we need to kick Rohan out quickly, so that we can deal with the threat there. Rohan holds Derwath. Oh, and Isengard are coming back. I think we might try and keep Isengard on side, actually. If we can get Isengard to just do anything. If we take Bregnas and then curl north and hit Dunland, because we need to give Dunland something to think about, or they're going to sweep through our northern lands. And we simply cannot have that. But you can train some troops, actually. And speaking of troops, we can also then... Definitely. Right, I don't think Moot Speaker Tremarch is going to be able to sit in Alkford much longer. We might need him on the fray. What I'm thinking is the Argon army we can't hold. 5 turns. How long does it take you to walk? 2 turns to get to the ship, and then it would be probably 2 turns up there. That's not... Can we wait for those extra units? I don't think we can. I think you need to take the garrison of this place and go. So that's what we're going to do. Right, so get that army up north. Suduri. 4 more turns till that's ready. Bugger. Right, we need to save Argon. Herat I'm not as concerned with. Oh, that's what you guys can do, actually. So once this army is trained, we'll move them out to hit the army at Herat, which has 4 more turns. Yeah, we got plenty of time there. Right. I wanted this campaign to be a touch harder. I wanted to be up against a few more enemies. And obviously, I allied Isengard, but actually, in truth, it would not have mattered one jot if we'd allied Isengard, because Rohan has firmly smashed them out of the game. So Isengard was never going to be a threat no matter what. I'm really interested that Dunland attacked us despite their alliance with Isengard. Obviously, they got to the point where the AI does essentially a comparison and thinks, am I better than you? And if it thinks they are, they'll do whatever they want. So they thought, am I better than Isengard? And the answer to their equation was yes. So they broke the alliance with them. They felt they didn't need Isengard to attack me. Right, they've got a ballista, which they're going to use to try and break down the gate. But the rest of their army, they have 2 pikes and 2 berserkers. But remember, we've got the walls. So I don't think this is going to be as easy as they think. We've got the great Dunedain architecture to defend us. And the arrow towers will rain bloody murder down upon Dunland here. So we creep over the walls. They're coming from that side. They're definitely going to try and get the gate. And then I imagine they'll try and get the towers as well. But of course, we don't have any archers, so we just need to defend the gate, really. Come on, get down off the wall. There we are. We just need these towers to shoot back at them. And that's the best we can hope for, really. So, you all go defensive mode. Make sure that the general's the one furthest back. Don't worry too much about the town square. They don't tend to blob through for the town square when there aren't very many units. But we first have to just weather the storm on the gate. The ballister crews will move forward and will shoot us, so we've just got to wait for them to complete their task. It's the pikes that will be the challenge. Well, to be honest, actually, the whole army will be a challenge. It's just whether or not we can get a lot of money out of the towers. What are they shooting at? Oh, the gatehouse itself, rather than the gate. Why are they doing that? They're going to need the battering ram. They're going to waste all of these ballister bolts. That's just moronic. What are you doing? Why are you taking on the gatehouse? Gatehouse doesn't do anything. I suppose destroying the gatehouse stops boiling oil, but of course boiling oil doesn't exist. I've never seen the AI try and shoot a gatehouse before. They always go for the gate and the towers. So that's a bit bizarre. But as you can see, it doesn't actually do anything when you destroy a gatehouse. It just makes it look damaged, which is a shame. You'd think it would crumble down and destroy the gate for free, but it just doesn't do that. I'm afraid. Right, what are you changing your targets up to now? Ah, they destroyed a tower. Bugger. Please run out of ammo. Come on, run out of ammo. They are remarkably strong at destroying towers. Yes, they've run out. Time has come. Right, so we've got 2 hours to shoot, 2 towers to shoot down upon them. So, get firing, please. Yes, away they go. Brilliant. And they are going to bring those men on the ladders, which is disappointing. You can't actually get through that way, so we're just going to retool our defense, I think. Oh, yes! And the towers fire flaming shots upon the siege equipment. Right, let's turn and face you into tears like that instead, I think. Woodsmen! You're not going where I want you to go, are you? You're just not going to do that.
Curses! Our enemy's ladders have reached our walls.
The enemy's ladders are on the walls. Ah, no, they got into a good position in the end. Then stay strong. Oh, and the towers here are towers as well. Oh, this is a horrific battle map to assault.
The enemy's ram has breached the gates. The walls are
Nearly
no
10% of the enemy has died to
The
tower
enemy have
fire.
taken.
We just have to hold. We just have to hold. The towers will continue to fire forever and a day. The enemy will not get them. They might get this one, possibly.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
12%. You just need to stand true to yourselves. There are any farmhand pikemen. Come on. You are foul and border guards. Long have you held the land of Hertshire against the coming tide of Dunland. And once more.
If we continue like this,
We're not even in Herod, are we? We're in Argon. Oh dear, you're miles away from home. Don't worry about that, boys. Just keep going. 12 plays 20. No, we're not going to be able to do it. Towers are strong and they are useful, but they just... You need to really hold the enemy in place for a long time to make towers work. Particularly when the enemy does something like that. They've offered up the farmhand pikemen as fodder. You've told them to stand in a nice wide angle, and they are going to let them soak up all of those shots. We kept the general alive at least for as long as possible. The reinforcing army should be able to sweep in, but if, like me, you saw that there's a full banner army of Dunland about to cross in from Tharbad into the Argon region, then you know that this battle is a time holder only.
the tide of battle seems to have turned against us.
Time holder isn't a word. I really struggle to actually speak English when when I record this. This battle is just trying to kill as many of them as we can, but they massacred us. Look at that. We killed barely any. That's the problem with spearmen. And also, spearmen without a general. It's always going to happen, isn't it? We got as much use out of the towers as we could. And we killed a lot more than we had any right to kill. But they just had too many troops. And troops and pikes are fantastic at dealing with spearmen, because the spearmen's damage is so low that even if they get shots off on the pikes, they're just not going to do anything. And that was a prime example of that. So sadly, Argon has fallen, and we'll need to get that back. The war with Dunland's not going to be as smooth as I had first hoped, and their war with Rohan has not distracted them enough to weaken them, which I am quite disappointed at. Ah, but here we go. This is the one I think we have a chance with. Only 191 berserkers and 190 raiders. Dunish axemen, who aren't very good at all, low tier. They've only got 49 of those hunters, and there's only 23 of the cavalry. So we've got 3 almost full units, and they've got 3 almost full units. So the numbers are almost bang on, as you can see. This time, though, we're defending not a Dunedain castle, but unfortunately a clan castle. While still a good battle map to defend, we don't have anywhere near as strong towers, so we won't get as many kills with the towers. And again, we don't have any range, so the only benefit of this map is that you get these steep defensive hills to hold the enemy back on. But that is it. And this time we've got Fowlon warriors, which will really change things up a bit. I wonder if it is an idea to try and hold on the hills, or if we should just rush into the enemy when they break through the gate. Although they're going to go on the ladders as well. Do we put a unit on the walls to counter the ladders? That would take out one of our units, but it would also take out one of their units. No, I don't think it's worthwhile. They've got to come down there, so they all eventually come through the middle anyway. So, defensive unit. Pull up to the top of that hill. We want the Fowlon warriors to be able to flank, so go there, and then we can move around whichever one of you does or does not get flanked. Right, off we go. And the town square, the fastest way to it is through this right-hand side, because then it's just up there. Whereas if you go around the left, you've then got to climb up this hill as well. So this one is quicker. Now, well, that's probably actually about equidistant, but the AI tends to favour this one, to my knowledge. The ladders are on the walls. Our towers,
give them steel.
yes, are firing, but because we've pulled away from the walls, we probably will lose the towers. Might get a couple of kills
the
though.
enemy are battering down our gates.
No, the towers have already stopped firing. The enemy towers won't join them though, but they will just stop shooting at them. Right, the Danish hunters, they've decided not to use those, which is quite foolish.
The walls are no longer ours. The enemy have taken them.
They're going up for the Fowlon warriors. They've come for us. Charge in. Now, the cavalry is no threat at all. I'm not worried about them. And the Danish hunters are probably going to shoot at our archers, at our backup, aren't they? Yes, they are. But you've got shields, men, so stand true. Stand true. I could charge you down the hill and try and hit them. Oh, those raiders are beating us. Oh no, victory seems certain. We've got the hill. I mean, come on. Oh, they've sent the berserkers that way. Okay. Right, rush you down the hill. Let's win here so that we can hit them in the back. Come on, come on.
Seems to be swinging in our favour. From such tidings does victory emerge.
Oh, they ran away. Good. And the cavalry's all dead. Right, so you hit the archers and you've hit them in the back. This is it. And the Fowlon warriors have helped here massively because they're so aggressive. Let's see what the stat lineup is like, though. So Dunland raiders are in a 7 attack, 5 charge, and a 12 defense. That's a good defense for an early tier unit. Very good defense. 7 attack's a bit worrying as well. And we've got a 13 attack with a 9 charge and a 13 defense. So despite our apparent bare naked form, we are actually considerably better than those Dunland raiders. Hugely better. We have the same defense with twice as much attack. That's fantastic. The berserkers have again half the attack, almost half the defense of these two units, but they are armor piercing. But remember, our Fowlon warriors have no armor at all, so armor piercing is useless. I'm not sure that 1 can even be reduced to 0.5. So Fowlon warriors are a real step up over the Fowlon border guards. By comparison, the border guards have a 4 attack and again the same defense, so they have the same defense. Although the border guards have a lot of it in the shield, so they're far more susceptible to flanking attacks than the warriors are. Defense skill is used in any melee situation. It's not used when you're shot at with arrows. So the Fowlon warriors will be taken down by archers. Like their archer defense is literally 1, which is appallingly bad. But in melee situations, that defense skill is applied in all situations. So whether they're flanked, attacked in the front, it doesn't matter. They'll get that defense skill. Which actually makes them a fantastic unit in melee. Of course, they've got to watch out for arrow fire, but if the enemy tries to go to them toe-to-toe, the enemy will die. As is shown here, they've done phenomenally well. And we're going to move Moot Lord Tramak over here to defend this location even more until the army can sweep north. And then we're going to need defence in Bregnas so that Rohan doesn't flood through our southern border. That was a fantastic victory. 273. I didn't realise the Fowling Warriors were that good. That's a really good stat. But they're just an extreme berserker, aren't they? They're very similar to Isengard's berserkers, actually. Except they don't have 2 hit points. But any berserker unit is just complete fodder to archers. If the Dunish hunters had decided to shoot the Fowling Warriors instead, that could have been a very different story. Because the Dunlending Raiders and the Dunlending Berserkers are both very good counters to our spear units. So it's interesting to see that they've done that. It's also... I'm so pleased I put 3 units in all of our border because Dunland are just flooding through our borders. We need our southern army up north as quickly as possible. We need to really gut Dunland's ability to attack us because this is turning into a worrying situation to my mind. Very worrying indeed. We'll see. Oh, I will take an adopted candidate, actually. Oh, guild's available. Londare, Hunters Guild. Go on, what the hell? Ah, the Aradanaim Armada. We need to reword this. We need to put in an immersion-breaking passage that essentially says that the Armada cannot be stopped by ships. It's something that definitely needs to be added. I've had a few comments now of people saying I was playing as the High Elves and I built a big fleet to counter the coming Armada, only to be terribly disappointed to learn that actually your ships are completely bypassed and the army just lands on your shores no matter what. And I can understand that grief. So I'll tell you what we're going to do instead is Larnach, who's been adopted into the family, you move out to Hieres. The force under Admiral Rushion, if you come and help Barad Vin, because Barad Vin will fall to that force. Oh, that's a sizable... They've got a lot of variety. Barad Vin, again, only got the border guards, unfortunately. But with the addition of the Leodan to Mordag, that should help them. But then the problem is that northern side. I think Dunland's going to take much of our northern hold. Caruion, you might be called to war sooner than we first thought. I'm trying to keep him out of battle because I'm rubbish at controlling chariot generals. Oh dear, Rohan has absolutely annihilated the Isengard force that was trying to reclaim Derwath. Oh no. Derwath has been reclaimed and Rohan are moving in to counter that. Do Isengard still have Isengard? Oh, yes, they do. Oh, brilliant news. Right, now our main army. Melnadok the Conqueror. You are coming for Bregnas now. And Garn Burigan, you're going to move over to Heret and join up with Larnach to cover that force. If we can chuck some more troops into the Heret garrison, into the Heret force, we might actually be able to push out. You know that our situation financially has taken a bit of a turn, but for now, that is going to conclude for today's episode. So before we do, though, I will toggle Fog of War, and we'll do that today rather than the live stream. So in the rest of the world, Mithlond up in the north, not really having any trouble. Lord Círdan is now their faction leader, so Elrond must have died inadvertently over in Imladris. The goblins of Moria are doing all right, but the Northern Dunedain are actually hounding them. Bruenost has fallen to the Dunedain. You never see that. I need to stop calling them Northern Dunedain because we've renamed them to just Dunedain, and so that's what we need to call them from now on. Moria, though, definitely helping Dunland's ascension to power, but our allies in Bree should hopefully be giving Dunland a run for their money, but they don't seem to be. Well, Dunland's incurred the wrath of the Barrowites, so they're about to lose Mengelin. There's no way they'll be able to defend against the Barrowites. Look how many forces Bree has got. Bree, will you attack Dunland, please? What is this? What is this? There's enough troops there to storm Barad-dûr, and you can't even take down some pathetic wildmen. Get on it! Fortunately, though, this cheating is allowing me to see that Dunland have sent their army north to deal with Bree, and they are just going to hold Argon. So we've got a bit of a breather, and we might be able to hop troops across and take it. So that's good. I don't really want to look at the Rohan-Isengard situation, so let's head south. The Ardanaim have taken Lynn here, goodness gracious, and Dol Amroth are right up against it. They still hold Terathoros, and Gondor's sending troops around to assist. Gobel Tolfilus has fallen to the Ardanaim as well, and Gondor has lost the eastern banks and Caer Andros. Not good there. Dorwinion, though, doing very well. They've taken all the way down to Dantalad, and they border Mordor now. Dorthalu has been cut off from Dol Guldur holdings, and Dol Guldur is up against it quite sizably. Of course, we destroyed Gundabad in this one, didn't we? So there's no northern enemy, and that's proving very, very apt. Although Angmar are besieging Dane's Hall, so the dwarves have threats in east and west. Although the threats in the east are not against the dwarves, and they are for Dorwinion. Dorwinion has got Rune wrapped around their finger at the moment. Strondos still held, Wintirion has been taken, and just look at the size of Dorwinion. We're only 65 turns in, though, so Rune, once they get up to stride, I'm sure they will actually start turning things around. But Dogaldor definitely suffering under the loss of a northern ally. But the Goblins have taken Meithelberg. They've not lost Goblin Town. They're now on to Framsburg. And Gundabad fell to Anduin, as did Berzical. So, I keep calling them Anduin. Angmar. So Angmar are slightly more powerful than they would normally be, which isn't having a knock-on effect, though. The Dunedain are holding all 4 of their starting regions. They've also taken Tirthuin and Brunost, as we've covered already. And Eredluin have got Fuerost, actually, which is quite a good take for them. Normally is the first in a line of dominoes that leads to the destruction of Angmar. There you go, Khandum's working again. As I said, that was fixed in our build long before I started this campaign, but after I started Anduin. So there's Khandum back again. So it's an interesting world. It's also interesting to see Caddis Nernaled is not held by anyone. So either Bree never took it, or it rebelled against them. But we could try and snap that up. But there we are. So that's the world as we know it. Evil is... It's actually quite a nice little balance, isn't it? Mordor are doing very well, and the Ardenayim are definitely going to walk all over Dol Amroth because they have so much money and security from the 3 regions in the south. Vinya Forrestar, Vinya Metalma, and the Havenlands of Umbar. So they'll take Dol Amroth down, no trouble. Gondor will capitulate to Mordor, but interestingly, because Gondor are so up against it, and because Isengard are so up against it, those two have formed essentially an uneasy truce, I should expect, where they're not allied with each other, and they hate each other. They'll have poor relations, but it's not in either of their interests to go to war, so they're both just letting the other reside on their borders. This would be a tense place to live if you were a Gondorian or an... well, Isengard doesn't really have people living normal lives, does it? They're just all servants. But if you live in Western Gondor, this is a tense moment. But it's not that tense when you know that your firm ally in the north is trouncing them. But look, Isengard has... I said I didn't want to come here, but we've come here. Isengard has a phenomenal defence. And Gamling leads the assault on the Tower of Orthanc. So that's interesting to see. I think Rohan actually have got their hands quite busy. And I'm pleased we didn't break the alliance with Isengard too soon, because I think we're going to really need them. It's us and Isengard against the world here, and Dunland are really going to give us grief. There's a lot of forces between us and the fall of Dunland. But if Bree can get their act together and send apparently the world's first crusade out against their enemies, we might actually stand some chance. But that is all for the live stream. So as ever, I'm going to live stream the next episode in this campaign this Saturday morning at 11 o'clock GMT. I will record for an hour and a half, and you're welcome to come and join me. And we'll see what we can do against Dunland. But it's getting. I'm just saying it's getting over and over. Dunland are doing better than I thought they would. But with the power that I've seen there in Bree, who are our allies, I think we might be able to do it. But anyway, for now, that is all. Let me know your thoughts, please, on the Amazon series. I'd be very keen to hear what you have to say. And until we speak again, dear friends, Nevair Neden Pedabad Melonin, and farewell.